Bonjour et bienvenue au 5e Forum international de la cybersécurité. Alors international, à l'instant, je suis ravie d'accueillir sur ce plateau Germain Malnouri, French 2centre manager de l'université technologique en fait de Troyes. Anne Minems, manager of the Belgium Cybercrime Center of Excellence for Training, Research and Education, B2centre. De l'université de Leuven, et Nigel Jones, 2centre Law Enforcement Coordinator chez TRL, c'est-à-dire Technology Risk Limited. Le sujet donc sera en anglais. Je vous invite à participer en fait sur notre plateau télé. Toward a new European network in the fight against cybercrime, 2centre initiative. So, for the first question, I would like you can briefly come back to the origin of the 2centre initiative. How did everything start?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Here? Okay, thank you. Well, 2centre really comes out of a lot of work that was carried out in the early part of this century to develop training for the law enforcement community around cybercrime. A number of successful courses were developed, and it was decided to formalise that into a more structured approach. And so we approached Europol in 2007, and as a result of that, they took ownership of an ad hoc subgroup that brought all the countries together within Europe to identify the needs for training. Following on from that, the European Commission decided that they didn't really want Europol involved in training and education at that time because they were operational. So they conducted a survey which was published, and it recommended the creation of national centres of excellence in cybercrime education, training and research as partnerships between law enforcement, academia and industry. And we currently have a number of projects ongoing, the first one being the creation of the centres in Ireland and France, and the coordination activities to try and encourage other countries to participate in those activities.
Thank you. And could you give us your point of view from the origin of the 2centre initiative?
Actually, so we are from the Belgian Cybercrime Center of Excellence for Training, Research and Education. We're the third center in Europe that was established after France and Ireland. We have a bit of a different approach than the others. We have a wider view. We have three types of partners, like all the centers: academic, governmental, and industry. Like Microsoft, for instance, is one of our important partners, and who was very much behind the setting up of the centers. The objective of the centers is, as in our names, to provide training, research and education, and we have a very multidisciplinary approach. So we don't only look at the technological side, but also the legal side, criminological side, economic side, cryptography. We deal with a lot of themes for the research.
Thank you. And for you, Mr. Malnouri, could you say a word on your initiative?
The initiative of the French Center of Excellence started in 2010. Even before that, we were already working with the French Gendarmerie in the framework of undergraduate training and program at the University of Technology of Troyes. And then we have been contacted by UCD, the University College of Dublin, to go on a European project along with Nigel and other French partners, as the University of Montpellier, the French police, the French gendarmerie, and we start in 2010.
So what was the initial concept for both of you of a Center of Excellence?
Okay, well, the initial concept was the bringing together of the different parties involved in dealing with cybercrime. Up until then, everything was dealt with in silos. The law enforcement community would go off and do their own thing. Industry was looking somewhere else. And very often academia was looking for research work to do in this area. And so bringing everybody together seemed a sensible way to be able to create a centre that will be able to take into account the needs and requirements individually of those different groups and get them working together. And obviously the major aim behind the network was to create then a network of centres that had been established in different countries that met certain minimum standards to allow them to work together, for example, on producing forensic tools, where one university may be involved in the research, another university may then look to validate that, and then they would become available to the wider community. And the purpose was to stop people reinventing the wheel. Everybody says, you know, we wish to cooperate because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and then they reinvent the wheel. And so we were trying to get something together that would help that. And we had a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning from various different countries as well.
Okay. And who is your main financing organism or institution?
Okay, well, currently most of the funding has come from the European Commission through its ISEC funding programme that is there to support and help activity in this area. But it's right to say and right to acknowledge that also that industry have contributed to a number of the activities, certainly to the initial project. We received strong support from industry in that area as well. And so it really is a collaborative effort. And it must be remembered, very often people look at industry and think we only want them for their money, but we don't. Industry are the people who are developing all of the new tools, all of the new products that these criminals are going to abuse. And so it's getting that early knowledge within both the academic and the law enforcement communities that's really important. So that was the concept, and that's the initial funding. I'm sure others will talk about their subsequent funding issues later.
So I hope you have met yesterday or during the Cyber Security Forum some new partners.
Actually, I had a discussion about half an hour ago with a law enforcement colleague from one of the Balkan countries. I have to say it's not the first time I've spoken to him, but he's informed me of some progress in their activities and the fact that they've got over their first hurdle in trying to create their centre. So yes, coming here has been very interesting. I've met some various other people as well. So, yeah.
So Anne, did you meet new partners?
I met old colleagues and potential new partners. What we do, as we also have the same source of financing, but to keep on growing as a Belgian platform for coordination for the fight against cybercrime, we constantly are introducing new project proposals to receive funding from the European Commission, for instance, research projects, where we do different aspects of the research, like I already said. But we're also looking towards Belgium, because we're the Belgian Cybercrime Center, and we recently have a new national cybersecurity strategy. And we hoped that we will have a well-defined role there in the implementation of the strategy, ensuring that there is relevant research going on and that the training will take place for the police forces, but not only for police forces. We do different types of training. We also have, like, for instance, cryptography for magistrates. We have training we have general awareness raising campaigns. For instance, soon, the 5th of February, there's a Safer Internet Day, and there's a lot going on in that field towards schools, towards children. So there is all the vast area to cover of cybercrime and cybersecurity. There's a lot of aspects that we are dealing with.
And for you?
As I mentioned in the beginning, we start in 2010, and it means that we have only 5 months to go until the end. Now we are thinking about the next step of the project, and the next step for us is the creation of the French Center of Excellence. So we have our own partners. We have 7 partners: the French Gendarmerie, French Police, UTT, the University of Montpellier, Thales, and Microsoft. Now we are, I would say, recruiting new potential partners. And of course, the forum today, the conference today, is a very good opportunity to meet new people and to suggest them to join us on this kind of project. And I think we will be able to officially launch the French Center of Excellence in the fight against cybercrime before the end of the semester, or the first semester 2013.
And how many centers in Europe, or how many centers for excellence do we have today on the stage?
Okay, well, interestingly, it's grown from the original 2. We now have a total of 10 active centres. We actually have had discussions with more than 30 countries since the original plan started, and some are at different stages. I mentioned the country that I met this morning. So we have 10 active. The next stage is to work out how they're going to then work together in a wider network and how that will be coordinated. We actually have a meeting in the European Commission in March to discuss that, and as a lead up to that, the Coordination Centre, which I'm part of for the project, is launching a survey initially amongst the members and then to the wider community to ask what is it that you actually want to achieve through this network, and then also identify a host to coordinate it with some meaningful decisions coming from that, some meaningful activities that will help the national centres to contribute in the future.
Très bien. Do you collaborate between each other or between respective law enforcement agencies?
Yes, of course we do. As it was said by Nigel already, we do not want to reinvent the wheel. So what we're looking at, every center has its own specialization and is developing own research and own training programs. And for instance, we have developed a training in IP version 6 because all companies and everybody will need to move from IP version 4 to IP version 6, which has implication also for the police and for the forensics related to the IP version 6. So we have developed a training like that. And in 2 weeks, we have a training where we're inviting the people from the other centers to also come and participate, people from law enforcement from the other countries, so they can see what the training is about. And if they think it would be also useful for them, they can either take the training material and implement it, use it in their countries for providing training themselves, or they can invite our trainers to come and give training there.
So how many students are concerned by this training?
This training is, since there is a hands-on session as well, it's a maximum 20 persons because you need to have a computer for everybody, you need to set up the environment, so it's limited. But there's several sessions of the same training provided.
Yes, we hope so. So, Germain, could you say more about your project and about your what you do with Anne and with Nigel?
Yes, I would just say a few words about the collaboration. As Nigel mentioned before, collaboration is the key of the success of this kind of network. We don't have time, fighting cyber criminality and cybercrime. We don't have time to lose redeveloping the same training materials and reinvent the wheel every country and every year. So I will take a very concrete example. We have been developing now e-learning training material called First Responder. First Responder is basically the police officer who welcome the victims in police station, for example. This is very sensitive, very important training program because this person will welcome the victim and has to be aware of what is cybercrime. Is it cybercrime? Is it not cybercrime? And how do I help the victim of cybercrime? And we have been developing this training material in partnership with the French police and French gendarmerie. And now we are starting the transfer of the material toward the Belgian police.
So we had a session in November where the materials was presented to our police forces, and all the principles about what is cybercrime, which are the crimes, they're the same for Belgium and for France. But there is also a part regarding the legislation. So our lawyers are now working to update that session, that part of the material, to adapt it to the Belgian situation. Also, who are the actors involved in the fight against cybercrime? It's of course different. It's also the police in Belgium, but it's different police than the gendarmerie here in France. So we're updating this material first in the French version, and then we will do a tryout. And when it's approved for implementation, we will also proceed to the translation to Dutch, because we're a bilingual country.
I think that they've hit upon two important points there, and Germain has also mentioned not reinventing the wheel. A lot of money has been spent on these projects. The European Commission have put in a substantial amount of money, and the products that come from these projects are expected then to be shared between the different centres to make it easier for training to be delivered, and also for the development of tools for them to be shared amongst others as well, to improve the level of collaboration. So when the first project finishes in a few months' time, the expectation then is that many of those products from that project will be available to those wider centres, and we hope that will encourage more people to actually join the network, to create their own centres when they see that there is some tangible benefit to being involved in this type of programme.
Yes, would you just add another word to conclude this conference? To make a conclusion?
You make the conclusion.
The conclusion is that for us, we started in 2011, and it was really exciting to get to know better all the actors that are working in the field, and there are many. I mean, look around here, there's over 1,000 people maybe, but the important is that you can work together, and that you know the people who you can do really practical work with, and that you can use the knowledge that existing there and ensure that the number of people that know about cybercrime is really exponentially increased, so that they can better deal with it and better fight it in the long run.
If I may just say one other thing, and that is that it's important not to forget those countries that don't have the national centres. Many of the centres are in Western Europe, but it's important not to forget those countries that haven't yet created their own centres, and to make sure that they're brought into this discussion and this community as well. Because we want to avoid making these safe havens for the cyber criminals in the future. So raising the education, raising the knowledge and awareness, and making sure that we can share common tools amongst each other is paramount to a successful, or mainly successful fight against these cyber criminals that are out there. So that, for me...
No, I have nothing to add. I mean, you summarize everything pretty well, and I think we still have a lot of work to do and collaboration. And see you next month in Brussels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.